If you're running paid acquisition for your e-commerce brand and you're not aggressively capturing email and SMS on your website, you are literally lighting money on fire. Every single day, you're sending paid traffic from Meta, Google, and other ads channels to your website. Some people browse, some people add to the cart, but the majority of people leave your website. And once they leave without giving you an email or phone number, you do not own that relationship. And unfortunately, the only way to get them to come back again is either through paid acquisition or organic content. And to be honest, this is one of the biggest hidden leaks for most e-commerce brands. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to turn paid traffic into owned traffic through pop-up forms, embedded forms, and SMS capture, so you can bring more customers back to your site without spending more on ads. And this is the exact list growth system that we use at our agency, Retention for Brands, and it's helped us drive over $100 million in revenue for 7 to 9 figure brands. So without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, so now we're in and we're going to cover the full list growth guide for e-commerce brands. Make sure to stick around throughout this video as well, because we're going to go a little bit beyond just simple pop-up forms. We're going to cover some cool ways to grow your list through embedded forms and nice ways of doing SMS capture as well. So first things first, like I was saying at the start of the video, a lot of brands are in a similar situation like this, where they have the leaky bucket syndrome going on here, where they have Meta ads running, they have Google ads running, even organic content pushing towards the website, but they have suboptimal list growth strategies in place, which means that they have a lot of site visitors leaving their website to not ever come back again unless they come back through paid ads. So a lot of brands are in a similar situation to this. And the thing is, advertising costs are only going to rise. So that basically means by maximizing your email and SMS capture, you're going to be basically owning that relationship. Because the thing is, your email list is going to be immune to rising ad costs, and algorithm changes gives you more control. Emails are obviously far more cheaper than ads, reducing your customer acquisition costs and obviously giving you a chance to re-engage those customers. And the thing is, with email, you can nurture that relationship over time, as opposed to ads where you can do that, but you're still spending ad dollars. But the thing is, before you build that relationship, of course, you have to collect the email. And this is kind of how you can think about your pop-up form and your website visitors. Your pop-up form is essentially blocking that. Now, realistically, your pop-up form isn't going to capture all of your traffic. Ideally, you should be aiming for 10% and above, but we'll kind of dive into that a little bit later. So now we're going to touch on what type of pop-up forms you should set up for your brand. And firstly, we have the multi-step pop-up form, probably one of the best converting ones that I've seen throughout my time at Retention for Brands, and essentially works in a very, very simple way. So multi-step pop-up forms are actually super simple. So basically, rather than saying, here's 10% off, can we have your email straight away? We're actually asking the question, would you like 10% off? So here's an example, 10% off. The only options are yes, please, or no thanks, I'll pay full price. Once they say yes, please, then they go on to the next part where we're asking them for their email. The way the psychology works here is that the customer is already given a micro commitment saying that they want the 10% off. On the next page, they're going to be much more likely to actually give the details. And to be honest, this is probably one of my favorite pop-up form types because I've generally seen the best conversions with this. And of course, you can do this another way, and that is the single step pop-up. So essentially, rather than asking a question on the first page, we're asking them for their email straight away. What I would always suggest is just test this against the multi-step version. I would nearly say with a high degree of certainty that the multi-step pop-up form version is probably going to be the single step, although every brand is different, so I would strongly suggest actually testing this. We have 2 nice examples here, one from Cushy and one from Humantra as well, showing what a single step would actually look like. So now we're onto the full page pop-up form, and this is becoming increasingly more popular, especially by big brands, and some brands are using it quite well. One of our clients here, Snow, we're basically asking customers, is this your first time trying a teeth whitening solution? Yes or no? That allows us to collect some zero-party data before they even get into the list, to basically let us know a bit more about that customer, so we can alter the copy, alter what we're saying to that customer depending on like where they're at. And this can be just super, super simple. Some brands have multiple options here. So for example, if you're a supplement brand, you might want to understand a bit more about the customer's goals. So for example, their goals could be more focus or better sleep or more energy. So you can kind of play around with this any way you want for your own brand. So this kind of works in a similar way to the multi-step pop-up. It essentially is a multi-step pop-up, except we're asking a question at the start, more specifically around what type of customer they are. And of course, the main thing about these is they do take up the full page. They are a bit more invasive, so I would be very careful with just testing this, making sure that it's not impeding on your website conversion. So now that we're familiar with the pop-up types, now it's time to get onto different pop-up settings, because this is very crucial. I've generally seen that the best pop-up settings are to have your timing at 5 to 10 seconds. And you will want to make sure that you have a teaser on the pop-up form as well. This is quite important and can add a lot to your list growth. And if you're not really sure about what a teaser is or how how to actually set one up, we'll dive into a Klaviyo account now to get this set up. Okay, so we're now in Klaviyo and we are in the sign up forms builder. What we're going to do is, you'll see up the top, we have a teaser option. We have, of course, our email opt-in. You have an option to add another step, and you have, of course, the success page. So what you'll want to do here is you'll want to have a little widget that appears when someone clicks off of this pop-up form, because customers are really used to seeing pop-up forms on websites, and sometimes they will just rage click, but they still might want the offer. We still might want to propose that to them, give them the option to open that back up again and get into the email list. So in that case, we will want to make sure that the teaser is set up. So what we'll do here is you'll see that you can either choose a rectangle, you can choose a circle. Let's just use a circle for now. You can, of course, change the layout as well. You can make this large. You can, of course, make it a bit smaller if you prefer, but let's just go with medium for now. And of course, down here, you can have the specific offer. So in this case, we're going to be offering 10% off. If you did want to change the color of that as well, you can change the color down here. So in this case, if we did want to, let's say, change it to red, we could change it to red. And that is a really just nice way of collecting a bit more emails. And I guarantee if you have a teaser, you will be collecting more emails without a teaser. So now that we've covered the different types of pop-up forms that you can have on your website, and of course the settings, I did want to share some learnings that we've gotten from our Lunch and Learn with Alia. And if you're not familiar with Alia, it's a pop-up form tool, which strongly recommend you check that out for your own brand. They offer free trials, no specific affiliation to Alia. We've just tested it out with a bunch of our clients and seen fantastic results. And to be quite honest, I don't think I've seen yet a Alia pop-up form underperforming a Klaviyo pop-up form. So it's kind of interesting. So what we found here was our account management team, as you can see us down here, we were chatting with a member of Alia, and essentially they were sharing all of the data that they've learned from all of the pop-ups that they've set up for almost 3,000 brands. And the interesting thing to understand here is that giveaways led to lower lead quality. So for example, rather than offering a discount, you might, or some brands might offer a chance to win a free product every single month. And generally that brought lower lead quality, less conversions after someone signed up. And as well, Alia also said that a 0 to 5 second display time on your pop-up is the most optimal, not only for signups, but also for conversion rate and bounce rate as well, for site bounce rate, that is. So I really want to share those two specific learnings if you ever are thinking about, of course, the pop-up form settings, or of course, the different types of offers that you want to run, which of course we'll get to in a second. But if you don't know who Alia are or haven't tested it out, I would strongly recommend you do that for your own brand. Now, if you are using Klaviyo for your own pop-up form, you will want to be aware of some other settings that you'll have on the pop-up form. So one thing to be aware of is the and logic. You'll want to make sure that you are not displaying the pop-up form after 8 seconds and a specific page scroll, because if you pick the and logic, that means the customer will have to do both of those things. So for example, they will have to be on the website for 8 seconds and they will have to scroll, let's say 30% of the page. Ideally, you want to just pick one. Another thing to be aware of is, of course, double opt-in. So I would definitely consider removing double opt-in from your list. The only scenario in which you would keep double opt-in on is if you want to be extremely strict with deliverability, or if you're having some bot issues. They're the only reasons why you would have this on. If you do have double opt-in on, it will tend to slow down your list growth quite a lot. And another thing to be aware of here as well is if you are A/B testing your pop-up forms, you'll want to make sure that the correct person is getting the correct offer. So I do have a guide here, which I'll link down below in the description. So make sure to check that out so you can ensure that the correct person gets the correct discount. So now you might be wondering, what are the winning offers that you can put on your pop-up form? And it goes without saying that discounts will generally see the best sign-up rates and also the best conversion on the back end. There are ways in doing this which can protect your margin a little bit better, and that's obviously by offering free gifts, which can be quite useful because you can pick a specific free gift that is of low cost to the brand or to yourself. Another type of offer that we've done on pop-up forms has been resources. So this could be a free guide, or it could be some kind of downloadable PDF. And generally we have seen this to work quite well, specifically for brands who do require a lot of education before someone makes a purchase. So this could be a very complex skincare product. It could be a very complex supplement or something along those lines. So ask yourself, if you think a customer needs a lot of education before they make that purchase, you can either, number one, offer the free resource as a way for someone to sign up to the list, or option two, you can give a discount, but also give them the PDF as a bonus when they do sign up. So they'll get the discount plus the PDF. And this is a great way to support that sales process before someone makes that decision. But if you are thinking about what kind of offer you want to run for your e-commerce brand, I would suggest testing some of these. So for example, I would test 10% off versus $10 off. You could then find a winner. Let's say $10 is the winner. Then test $10 versus a free gift with your order. And then if you find that free gifts is the winner, test free gifts against a free resource. And just keep testing your pop-up form offer until you start seeing consistent 10% sign-up rates. Okay, so now it's time to get onto embedded forms, which can be a very interesting way of growing your list. And it's not actually what you think, because a lot of the time when embedded forms are mentioned, most people think it's just that little small thing at the bottom of the website that no one really signs up to. So here's an example about how you can use an embedded form and a landing page to drive some more signups for your brand. This works particularly well if you are doing some form of early access or you're trying to drive some intent before a sale or a product launch. This can also work really well if you have a good social media following, so you can leverage that following and drive them into your email list. So in this example, what you would do is step one would look like creating the embedded form on Klaviyo. Then you would create a landing page or just a page using Shopify or a third-party app. Step 3 would be to place the code from the embedded form onto the landing page, and we'll explain what that looks like in a second. And then step 4 is pushing that traffic to the landing page from social media or whatever you choose. It could be paid acquisition as well. So just to quickly illustrate the example. So we've done this for a client of ours. This is the embedded form that we created, and the example of the page looks a little bit like this. So this was for Black Friday VIP access, and we were driving a lot of traffic to this page to drive some intent before the big sale. And you can see the embedded form here is on the page. So provided that this page is getting plenty of traffic through organic or even paid acquisition if you decide to do that, although I will be a bit careful about that, but this is a great way to drive more intent. And this works really well if it's a specific reason why you're looking for the email addresses. Again, if it's a product launch, if it's a sale, works really well in those cases. Okay, so now you might be wondering, how do I actually create an embedded form? So what we're going to do is we're going to flip over to Klaviyo. We'll go in, create the embedded form, and you'll see exactly how you can grab that code that we were talking about in step 3. So if I come over to forms, we're just going to create a new form, and you'll be able to pick the form style here as well. So what we're going to pick is embed, and let's just pick this one. Actually, that is SMS. So let me just pick one that is email. You will want to make sure that you will select the correct list. A little tip here as well is if you were driving traffic for, let's say, a product launch or a specific sale, I would strongly recommend having a specific flow for these people when they sign up, educating them about that sale or that product launch that is coming up. So if it's a product launch, we definitely want emails or even SMS to, of course, warm those people up before the product launches. So in this case, we're just going to click newsletter. We're going to go create form. So now we have the form here as well. So you can, of course, make some stylistic changes if you would like. For the purpose of this demonstration, we won't bother. We'll just leave it as is. But what we'll want to do is, of course, make sure that this is published. What is key to understand here is the form must be published in order for it to show on the page where you put the code. So we're going to publish this. We'll just publish it anyway. Once that is finished, you'll see that we have this piece of code here, and we're going to copy that. Now, what you want to do here is take this code, paste it into the page or else the Shopify third-party app that you're using to build a landing page. As long as this is published, this will start to display. Okay, so now that is a very simple way to use embedded forms and landing pages. I would strongly recommend doing this, especially if you do have that sale, that product launch coming up. It is a fantastic way to drive intent. So now we'll get on to the next way to grow your list, and this is through SMS subscription links. One of my favorite ways to grow a list, especially through social media. So it works very similarly to the embed form plus landing page. And this can work particularly well when a brand has a large social following. You can set up SMS subscription links that can be used to put on the brand's socials or your socials. The customer journey is going to look a little bit like this. So the customer will see an Instagram story from the brand stating that they can get 10% off when they join SMS. The customer taps the link on the Instagram story and then is brought to their messages on their phone, where they are prompted to opt in. If they're on desktop, they will be brought to a subscribe page, which we'll explain in a second. And the customer then receives the SMS welcome flow where they get their 10% off code. So the way you can set this up is, first of all, you'll go to settings, go to SMS, and go to automation. So this is where you'll want to end up. Of course, Klaviyo does change their interface every so often, so do make sure that it is the most updated version. But if you go into SMS settings, you will definitely find a subscription link. So now we're on to step 2, which is to, of course, create the subscription link. So you'll want to make sure that that is created. And what you'll want to do is make sure that you're naming it something recognizable. So if you're using it for just a simple 10% off, calling it 10% off offer. If you're using it for a product launch, make sure that you just have the product name in there, so it's easy when you go back to see what this link was actually for. Step 4 then is going to be to edit the subscribe page so that customers who click this on desktop will, of course, still be able to sign up for SMS, because this works very, very well on mobile. And it will basically bring you straight to your messages when you click on mobile, but on desktop, of course, it cannot bring you to your mobile. So therefore you will just see a normal sign up page. That just means you have that fallback option there ready to go. And of course, step 5 is making sure that there's a welcome SMS when someone actually signs up. The last thing you want to do is just have someone sign up for SMS and then not have any follow-up on the back end of that. So what you're seeing here is an example of how we used the SMS subscription link in an email campaign to drive more SMS signups. So you can of course use this link across social media wherever you want basically, but essentially the goal of this campaign was to grow the SMS list using our current email subscribers who were not already on SMS. So the customer journey essentially looked like this. The customer will click the join SMS list down here, the CTA. There will be an SMS subscription link which would bring them to their messages if they're on mobile, or a subscribe page if they're on desktop. The customer will sign up, the customer will receive a welcome SMS. And here is an example of how this would look on mobile. So this is from another brand called Decked, and it's a super simple process, a really nice way of growing your list. Setting up SMS subscription links probably takes in total 5 minutes, but I promise you it is one of the best ways to grow a list, especially when you do have something coming up, whether that be a product launch, a big sale, or you just simply want to drive more SMS signups through your social media following. So I think that pretty much wraps everything up. I really do hope you found this useful, and if you are running an e-commerce brand, I'm offering free retention audits where I essentially review your pop-ups, email, SMS capture, show you the highest impact opportunities to increase customer retention and LTV, and of course outline exactly what we would fix if this were our brand. At the very least, you'll walk away with some actionable insights into how to actually grow your retention. So click the link down below in the description, book a call with myself, and we'll set a plan in place for your brand. At the very least, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.